Okay, so last week we went through the description of a computer code, and we went through all of this and we attempted to define what they mean. And if you look at this chapter that I have here, Introduction to Programming, all the things that you see in this table, you can see this is a table. It has a column and rows. They are also here, and I have really gone into details what each of them mean. So today we're gonna go down this list and make sure that we cover everything. We'll just show you examples, right? Because last 2 weeks, I think we talked about what they mean, but this time you're gonna see some examples. And then, I just want to show you. Remember, this is introduction, so it will cut across all programming languages. Then as soon as we finish with that, then we're gonna begin the JavaScript itself. And, I believe some of this will be repetitive because when we are doing JavaScript, we're gonna still be using the same principles up here, and all that. So just bear with me on that. And, we have to understand the JavaScript language itself, how to write JavaScript code. And then, so I have the notes are all here. These notes will help us go through all that, the control flows. These are powerful concepts that we'll learn. And then this is what I really care about, the DOM manipulation, So the ability to use JavaScript together with HTML and CSS. So we already did the HTML. We know the CSS. We need to add JavaScript to it. And that is the complete foundation of web development. These 3 languages, okay? So this is the section that we're gonna be learning that. But I don't think it makes sense to just jump to it. We need to learn the JavaScript language first, and then we can know how to use it together with the HTML, okay? So that's the plan. Now, I know we saw some code last week also that we worked on. We would probably continue using the same file. So let me go to statement. I want to make sure that we see everything on under the introduction. We have to go to every page. Unfortunately, as you know, this site sometimes is very slow. I want to, and it is on the internet. You can access this anytime you want. Just read through it. I wrote this myself, so I think there is a lot of value in it. One thing that we didn't talk about was the usage of computer code. I have written a lot of usages. You read it, it's just funny. Everything you see is computer programming, right? Computer code is behind everything you see pretty much, right? Technology, everything in technology is as a result of computer code. So I just make sure you read it. I just wanted to point it out. So now let's go to statements. So what is a statement? You guys can also interrupt and tell me what you think. We already talked about it. So I'm trying to make this a very kind of introduction also, very fast one, right? I mean, it's an introduction, but I wanted to make it like, what is the word? Reminder. We just want to remember what we learned previously.
Like a review?
It's kind of a review, thank you. A quick review, that's the word, thanks. So what do you guys think of a statement? In programming, when you see a statement, right? Of course, when you go home, you can read this one to understand it, right? But a statement is what? A group of words or numbers that tells the computer to perform a specific task, right? So the statement is a complete statement, and it tells the computer to do something specific, right? So, and if you can look at this example here, we have A equals B times 7. Can you guys see that this is complete? It's a complete statement. It has a meaning. We can interpret this as it is, like that. That's a statement. So normally, a code is made up of so many statements, right? Several statements that when you combine them, you can achieve the goal that you want to achieve. Whatever the goal is, right? So that is statements. Of course, in a statement, we have operators in there. I mean, I should have, guys, what do you think? What do we call this in computer code? This symbol here, what do we call it? Like equal sign, multiplication sign, what do we call them? They're characters, right? But we call them operators. Mm-hmm. So like this equal sign is a character, one character. This is another character, but the name is called operators. You know, 7 is a number. It's just a literal value. You know, literal value is a basic number, right? It's basic. It's not an object. It's not a class. It's just a number. So it's a literal value. So a statement is made up of what? Numbers, words, and operators. You may want to multiply 2 numbers. You may want to concatenate two strings. A string, let's say your first name and your last name. If I want your full name, I just will have to combine your first name and your last name. So concatenation and all that. So those are statements, okay? So some of the key points that you should understand about statement is that they have to terminate, right? It is a basic instruction, right? A basic unit of code. So it's actually the basic unit of code. It's a very good way to look at it. But the code is a lot of lines of code, right? We have many lines of code. So mostly each line of code is a statement, right? So the basic unit of code is a statement. And so these are all theoretical stuff. You can go through them. So that's that. We can just move to the next key term, yeah, expression. And let me also write code execution. I believe we may have seen it. But like I said, I want us to go to every page at least to make sure that we are not leaving anything out. So, and in the context of code, expression is the combination of values, variables, and operators. And function calls. You can even function calls can also be called an expression that can be evaluated to produce a result. This side is important. The combination of numbers, values, variables, operators in any way that you can evaluate to produce any result, right? So that is an expression. So expressions don't need to have equal signs in them. So this one, when I did math, there is something called equations and then expressions. An expression in math has no equal sign in it. Equation has an equal sign in it. So x equals 2 is an equation. But 2x plus 2 is an expression, it's not an equation. We may remember these things. So in coding also, they have this concept of expressions and anything that you can evaluate to produce a value. Like, so this is an expression also. X is a variable, which means it can be anything, right? What is a variable? What is a variable, guys? In coding, when we say variable, what is it? So variables are what? Storage location, where we put our values, our data types. So we said that coding is about 2 things, data types and algorithms, right? You have data, but you need to store the data somewhere. So the place where you store your data, that is the variables. Don't forget it, right? You always need a place to store the data. So those places are variable, and we call it variable because they can store different things. You can put the variable over there can be 5, and then the next minute it can be 7, the next minute it can be 8. So it varies, right? So that's a variable. But you can also have a variable that only stores one thing that doesn't change. So in that case, we call it a constant. And I'll show you how to do all that as we go down the list. So you can see this X is a variable and it stores a value. The value could be anything. Let's assume that is 1. Y is a place where we store, it's a variable, we store data there. The data could be 2. So in this case, you're going to have 3 plus 1 times 2 minus 2. So 2 minus 2 is going to be 0. 0 times any number is also 0. And then 3 plus 0 is 3, right? So this whole thing will evaluate into a number, or it will produce a certain result, right? So it's an expression. Very simple stuff. So let's see some of the examples I show here. So this statement has 4 expressions in it. 4 expressions in this statement here. And they are saying that 2 is an expression because it's a value. It's 2 itself is a value. So it's almost like a result, right? B is a variable. So it's a variable expression, right? It's a variable expression over here. And then we are trying to look at the number of expressions in this statement. This is a statement, right? It's a complete line of code. Normally, at the end of a statement, we put a semicolon. That is what tells the computer, this is one statement, so evaluate it for me, right? It's like saying my name is Evans, and then you now talk about your age. My age and my name are not the same. So once you mention your name, you are done. One statement is complete. So this is a statement. But within a statement, there are many expressions in there. That's the point that we are making. So you should be able to convince yourself that when you look at this one, you can say that 2 is an expression, B is another expression over there, and then B times 2 is another expression. Why am I saying that? B, what is the value of B? When the computer sees B, it's going to say B is a variable. So let me go into it and see what data we have put in it. So data and value are the same in this case, right? So what value is put into B? So the computer will go and look at the value and then take that value. So this B by itself is an expression because it's gonna it gives you a value. Now you have that value, you can multiply that value by 2. This also gives you another result. And then here you just assign it to A. So this is we call this assignment expression. It's an expression that is assigning some value to that. So these are just jargons. I don't think you would ever have to articulate this one. If you are reading your code to somebody, then you're gonna be using these key terms, okay? But one more important thing that we can say here is that when you write this line of code, say you create a variable A and you're saying, let A be equal to B times 2. Your ability to know what the code is doing is important. What do you think the computer will do when it sees this statement? It will start from here, right? It will take 2. 2, there is nothing to do. 2 is 2. It's a result. So it's a complete expression. 2 is complete. So the code will put it down. Then it will take B. B is not done yet. I have to go inside the variable and pick the value. Once it gets that, now it has the value here. Then the next thing to do is he's going to multiply these 2 values. And after that is done, then the next step is, let me now assign whatever that I got to A. So that's the series of steps that the code will go through. Is that understandable, guys?
Yes.
Yes.
So yeah, this is what I meant by being able to explain what you have written down with confidence. This little thing, trust me, you can have a giant code over there, but it's just a bunch of small things like this that you are just moving around to get what you want. That's all. There's nothing more. So now let's look at this one here. Examples of expressions. We have arithmetic expression over here. Can somebody explain this line of code to me? So again, we are using JavaScript here. if you want to declare a variable in JavaScript, there are 3 ways of doing it. You can use let constant and then var. The keyword is, there are 3 keywords that you can use. I don't need to talk about it now because when we go to JavaScript, we're gonna see it. Let constant and then var keyword. So what is happening here? Can somebody attempt to explain this line of code and tell me why we got this 25? And when you're explaining this, do it like you're speaking to a 6-year-old, okay? Just what is happening here? What is happening here in this line of code? I mean, the first thing is to know that this is code, right? But what is happening here? And of course, the output is 25. How did we get this 25? Can somebody try this?
So X is stored as 5. Y is stored as 10. So then, let's see.
I wouldn't say stored as. I wouldn't use that term. But that's, you have hidden a lot of the details if you say stored as 5. But that, I don't think that's how the computer is looking at it. How is the computer looking at this statement? And it's a statement, right? It's a complete statement. Let's see semicolon here.
X is 5. Y is 10. Turns to...
No, 1 second. You are saying computer will look at this as X is 5?
Yeah.
Y is 10. I think that's debatable. I wouldn't think like that. How would the computer do this? Remember, you are telling the computer to do things, right?
Yeah.
You are commanding it to do something. So if you write this statement, what are you telling the computer to do?
To let X equal 5.
Good, but actually what you are telling it to do, Ibrahim, do you want to try before I say it? Because you are commanding the computer, really. You are giving it instructions to do something. So if you say let X equal 5, in English, it sounds like exactly what you guys are saying, but what you are doing is that you are telling the computer, create a variable by the name X. That's the first thing. So think about going to pick a container that you can put something in. That's the first thing. And then we are saying that give the container a name so that if we need it, we can call it, right? And we are saying call that name X. So that's the first thing the computer will do here. And then after you do that, now we are saying that put 5 into it. Put the number 5 into the container. So is this more descriptive than the way you guys are saying it?
Yeah.
So can you attempt to define this? What are we telling the computer to do here? Create a variable called Y. In other words, provide a location in your memory called Y. And then after that, put 10 in there. Is that understood?
Yeah.
Go declare variable and then assignment. Remember that the declaring of a variable and assigning a variable are 2 different things. And we could do them on the same line like this. When we do them on the same line like this, what do we call it? Initialization. So let's just go here. I just don't want to just talk up and demonstrate it. So this is the code that we were using the other time. It's just we went through this the other time. Oh, it looks like I've added things here. Sorry, guys. Let me. Like, if you really get these things, guys, trust me, you will never be scared of coding again. Because after getting these basics, whatever you want to do, you can even Google the code. And then you have the code in your hands, but do you understand it? And is the code doing what you're doing? If you don't understand it, you won't know whether the code is doing the right thing or not. So this is day one. Let's just, I don't know, what should we even do? Let's Control C. Okay. 1 second, please. I'm trying to figure out what we should do here. Let's put what we are writing today up here for now. It looks like it's better to create our own, another file for today. But we're going to see a lot of small code today, a lot of small code. We call it code snippets. So let me just, oh my goodness. I hope this computer doesn't slow down because I already see it slowing down. See, I'm clicking and it's taking a whole lot to come. Okay, so let me just rename this one to day 2. Day 2. Don't worry, you don't need to know anything. Just focus on what we are learning right now and try to participate. So today's class, like, I don't want to create an external file to put my JavaScript code in there. I want to write my JavaScript in the HTML. So, and I want to just write it at the bottom here, the bottom of the page. So if I want to do that, just create a tag called script tag. So within the script tag, anything you put in there, they know that it has to be JavaScript. So let me copy. This is the code on the website. So the way I made it, you can just keep copying things and just trying them. You copy and paste it, and then so today we are working in this file over here. I'll put the code here. You know, indentation is a good thing. So let me indent my code properly so that they are more readable. See, I just want the script to follow the script, and then this is my code. There is no reason to get this or this indent, this spaces here. There's no reason for them, so I'll just bring it back. Okay. Is everything okay up to this point?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I'll save this. Let's see what we get in the browser. It's supposed to print 25 in the browser. But I want to show you something. So let me minimize this screen a little bit. As you know, the computer is slowing down. Yeah, I want to put this on the side there. Then can you see how slow this is? So I just put this hello there so that at least we can see something on the page. It doesn't really matter. Why I'm surprised this didn't open. I'm doing it again. View in browser. Okay, so now it's opening. We see the hello, but if you want to see the code, you know, this is, I don't want to see that. You have to go to inspect and then go to the console, you know, and you can see 25. We set up write 25 into the console. So after the page loads up, it's writing 25. So now what I'm saying is that this, when you write the code this way, we said that we call this initialization. I mean, it's a term that if you know it is very good, because when you're speaking, you're going to be using it. Another way you could have done this was to say let X. So X is already there, so that's why we are getting an error. So let's use a different variable. Let Z. You see there is no error. And then you can now say Z equals 5. So this is another way to do the same thing up there. So the first thing that, and this is this code, the computer will look at it this way. It will declare a variable first. Declare. So this is declaration. Declare a variable and call it Z. We are giving it a name because we want to call the location. Here, what is it doing? Assignment. Assigning a value into the variable. So if you do the two together, then you have this. We call it initialization. I'm not sure if this N is 1 or 2. This is not correcting me, so that's fine. Guys, you understand this?
Yes.
Okay, so if you are trying to explain what this code is doing, that's exactly the way you should do it. You have to say, the computer will declare a variable Y and then put the value 10 into it. And if you want to be specific, you can say the number 10, because this value, what value is this? What value is this? Is this a number or a string or array? What?
The number.
This is a number. See, data types are also important. What type of data is this? Like I told you, coding is all about data type and algorithm. The type of the data is what tells you what you can do with it. Because these two are numbers, now you can multiply them and add them. You see, if this was non-numbers, then you couldn't do this. So let me also do one more thing. I mean, we're going to learn about data types later on. It's probably one of the concepts. So let's just call this X1, X2. And instead of a number, if I do this, then what, so instead of, now what is this? What kind of value is this?
String.
It's a string. So a string of 10 is not the same as number 10. So for strings, you couldn't multiply them, but apparently you can add them. I'm calling this result 1. Oh, guys, do you know why there is an error here? See, if you,
it has the results, let results on top, line 13.
yes, it's because of that. And why is that? Why is that? Remember the let is a command to create a variable, right? And give it a name. So if you have a variable called result, and you are saying that create another variable and call it result again, the computer will not understand, because tomorrow, if you say, give me result, it doesn't know which container to go to.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So names have to be unique in coding. I mean, within the same scope, there's something called scope that we're going to learn. This code, it is in the same scope. That is why you cannot have this. If I put this in a different scope, then you can have this. But we're going to learn about scope. So if it's in a different scope, then scope is different. It means that they don't live in the same place. So you can use the same names. We're going to learn that later on. So I have to make this name unique. So now, if I print this code, what is going to happen? I just want to make sure you guys are really following. So if I print this code, what's going to happen here? Just give it a guess. It's a tricky question too, guys. Again, that's what code is. They're always going to give you a code and it will be buggy. You have to find a bug, right? So this code as it is right now, there is a bug in it. So there are two types of bug, okay? Right now, if I do this, you can see that this kind of bug, we call it the syntax error. Syntax, you've made a mistake in the way the code is supposed to be written. So this one, it will tell you right here. But there is another type of error that you haven't made any mistake in the code, but the logic that you are using is wrong. Your logic doesn't make sense. So this type of code here, I believe our logic doesn't make sense. I just want you guys to tell me what this code will produce here by looking at the code and thinking a little bit. Let me see if you can see it. I'm already looking at it.
The output being 25 will be wrong.
The output will be 25. How many outputs will be here, first of all? How many? But this will print 2. Thank you. That's the first thing you should know. This will print something and this will also print something, right?
So one print 25, the other one prints 15.
This will print 25 and this will print 15.
Yeah.
Why? If this is printing, why is this one printing 25? Because I get it, this is already 25. But look, what am I printing here?
Result.
What is in result at this point? 25, right?
Mm-hmm.
What am I printing here?
Oh, so it's gonna be 25, 25 because
awesome. Tell me, because what? That's perfect.
Because the second one is result 1 and it just has results.
Yes. So over here, I'm still printing the same thing.
Yeah.
So it will be 25, 25. Guys, your ability to see this, because we write a lot of code, but this is the mistakes we do. But you will see it and say, oh no, so here we don't want to print result, we should print result 1. We should print the value that is in result 1. Is that understandable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now the next question. Again, we are jumping ahead of the class, which I don't know if it will help us, but after today, we won't do any introduction again. So we better finish everything. Because, right now, what we know this is 25, because this is a number, if you evaluate this expression, it's giving you 25, and that is put in here, and we are printing it. Okay, now, what will be the value here? What should be the value here if we evaluate this expression?
15.
15? Why?
Yes.
Why 15?
Because it's supposed to be 5 plus 10.
Okay, so when you say 5 plus 10, is this one 5 or not? This is 5 or not? This is not 5. This is a string 5,
Oh,
not a number.
Because of the quotations.
This one could have very well been say that it's a string. It's not a number, so you can't add 2 numbers that way. Okay.
So it'll be 5 plus 10.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, so 5. It will say 5 plus 10.
And then gives you a. If it's so you're saying that this is gonna give you.
It's just going to write the number 5, or is it going to write 510?
Yeah, but again, you can't read it like that. It's gonna write 510. 510.
Yeah.
This is what we call concatenation.
Yeah.
But you can't read it 510. It's still a string of 510. It's not a number, so you can't read it like it's a number.
Okay.
So what makes something a string is the quotation marks?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Remember, values or the data, they have a type. And it's very important because, like I said, the type of the data or value is what determines what you can do with it. Because these are numbers, you can add them and multiply. Now they are strings, it's not number, you cannot think of them as numbers. So when you put the plus sign here, they call it Concatenation. Concatenation. It's a word that if you can pronounce it, will be very good. Because even in SQL is there.
Would it have a space in between?
If you want to put a space in between, you have to actively put it. So you have to say, so there is something called an empty string. Empty string, if I do this, it's a string with nothing in it. So you can do this. That's a string with a space in there, right? Okay. So you can, there are different ways. So you can say, if you want to put space in here, I could have asked you guys to figure it out, which I know you should be able to. You can say, let Z1 be equal to this. Again, remember, a string can be anything, any series of characters combined together. So if I want to put a space here, what should I do? I can just say Z1 plus. This will put a space in between, because what is Z1? The variable Z1 is storing an empty space. Mm-hmm. And here it will print that empty space as the value. Why don't I print this for you to see here? Just refresh the screen. You see you have 510. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not giving you the brackets, but if you check the type is still going to be a string. A string. Okay. So if I take this, it will print it as 510. Because we are dealing with strings. That's when you are doing this, you don't think of anything, just think about strings. And a string, you just have to understand what a string is. It's a series of characters. Anything that is composed of characters like alphabets, A, B, C, D, you can compose it together to form Justina. So again, the same variable can't be here. So let me make this unique. Anything you can do to make the name unique is up to you. And then here we can say 10, 10, 10. Let me just say tech genius. So now if you want to concatenate this result 1, I have to print this one. Guys, there's still one more question you are going to answer from you. You're gonna explain this for me. So Justina Tech Genius. So I have a question and I'm not scared. Why did he put a space between them? Oh, something is happening. Oh gosh. Guys, do you see what's happening? Justina, you're saying something?
What is the Z11? Oh no, you put a space between the genius, but you didn't put a space.
Yeah, I did.
No. Yeah.
I did put a space between the tech and the genius, right? Mm-hmm. That's why it is here. But can you see that Justina and tech, because there is no space there, it's combining it. Mm. So this is a wrong output. So the person who is doing the testing will call you and say, this is not doing the right thing. And then they will tell you to, for Justina tech doesn't make sense. But what will make sense would be to put a space. You can put a space here yourself by this, but that's a poor way to program, because normally this data will come from somewhere, the database, this first name, and then this will also come from the database. So you cannot adjust it and put a space here yourself. So the best thing you do is to create something like this and then just print it in between. We're going to see how all these things work. So, it's all about what you want, right? So let's just make this properly. Assuming this is Justina's last name, right? And you want to print her full name. So this is just a space, but you can also put a space there this way. You don't need to put it in a variable first. You can just do this. That's also possible. You're just printing the value right away. But we know what we are doing. Assuming this is her last name, then we can say, you can also print, you make what you are printing make more sense, right? Print something here, a full name. full name is whatever you want, or you can just say full name and put semicolon. You can do anything in coding, anything, guys. There's nothing to be scared in coding. You are just combining the basics, variables and expressions, and that's it. And you are doing complicated things. So now let's see, full name, Justina check. All right, so whatever. So now I'm going back. Can somebody explain to me what is happening here one more time? Just explain it. In computer language, what are we doing? So there are three of them, one for Afi, one for Ibrahim, and one for Justina. In computer language, what are we doing here? Think of a statement and expression. Mention any expression you see, mention any statement you see, and then say that, oh, we are creating a variable and we are storing this number in blah, 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 blah.
So we created a variable and stored it as 5.
No, come again, I won't take that statement.
We initialize the variable?
No, you can say that is fine, but come again, say a true statement. Make it true, a true statement. For what you said, I won't take it.
Okay, so we created
a variable and called it X.
And called X.
And then we decided to put a value 5 in there.
A value 5 in there.
Okay.
And then we declared
another variable called Y.
Called Y with a value of 10.
And put a value of 10 in there. Perfect. Okay. Please continue.
So the computer calculated the value?
That's fine. I calculated the value, but what value? This is a loaded statement. Be sure to explain it well. Expressions, right? There's expressions involving X and Y. And then what would the computer do? If you want help, you can say, do it this way. And then say result equals, it's the same thing. So what are we doing here?
Getting the results.
Sorry?
Getting the results.
What I said, what are we doing on line 13?
Oh, line 13. Declaring the results. So
guys, because coding is all about data, any new number that you have, you need to have a variable to put it in. And then you go in that variable and then you take it out. If you have so one way you could have done this, see, when we evaluate this one, we're gonna get a result, right? If you don't want to store that result anywhere, you can just print it here like this. This is also good. You can do this. So whatever the result is, you print it. But in this case, what we are doing, we are storing the result in a different location. And then we go to that location and read what the result is and print it. Does that make sense? Is it
so we stored another variable that was results?
No, we didn't store it. What did we do? We created. We are creating another variable and we are calling it result. The names, you can give it any name you want. The computer gives you the flexibility to give the name you want. But if you want to, then you just keep using that name, right? So what are we doing here? Come again, please. Declare. We are declaring or creating a variable and we are calling it result. That's all we are doing here, nothing more. So now what are we doing here? When you create a variable, you're gonna put something in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that thing that you're putting in there, this time, instead of just saying, I'll put 5 there, or I'll put 55, we don't want to hard code. This one is hard coded value. We want to put this expression. For this expression, depends on the values of X and Y, right? So if we change this value, we don't have to come here and change this expression. It will automatically pick these new values and then evaluate this expression, whatever that we get will be put here. So let me go back, I guess. So if you continue, please. You got this right, yes. So now what are we doing here?
We put in the expression.
We are evaluating the expression X plus Y plus times 2.
Mm-hmm.
When you evaluate it, you get a value, right? A result.
Yeah.
Whatever result that you get, what are you doing? You are putting it into your container called result. And I'm gonna stop saying container, I'll be saying variable, into your variable result. Do you understand? I'm not, do you agree with what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a process. I would have to like watch it again to like,
Okay. Okay, so now can you explain what the code will do here? Like so let's forget about the code. If I ask you to evaluate this expression, what will you do yourself, assuming you are the code?
Well, start from.
If I ask you to calculate X plus Y times 2, what will you do here?
So
do Y times 2.
So that you are talking about board mass, but actually
Yes.
that's not what I'm worried about, but that's good. You
Okay.
have to know where to begin from. You do multiplication first before addition, right?
yeah,
So you have to do this side first. Whatever you get, then you add it to this, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you start from here, you are violating the laws of math. But that's not what I really care about, because the code will do that for you, right? What I care about, so Ibrahim, like you said, Y times 2, that's the first place you start. Okay, so what will be your next step? What will you do next?
Add the 5.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Add the 5 after times.
No, wait, we are jumping steps. See, computer doesn't like to jump any step. Oh, computer is very stupid. If you tell computer, I think we talked about this. I don't want to prolong it. Computer, everything you need a computer to do, you need to tell it. So now Y times 2, what is what? You don't know why, right? You don't know. So you have to ask, so what is Y? Is that not what you're gonna ask?
Okay.
So the computer will go to Y and take
Whatever value
container
that's over there.
variable.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go to the variable Y and take the 10.
And take the 10 that is in there and then bring the 10 back. So now what do you have? You have 10 times 2.
Yeah,
20.
20.
Now it will have 20. Now it is done. So Y times 2 is a whole expression and it's giving you 20.
Mm-hmm.
Computer will remember the 20. And now it has X plus 20.
Yep.
The next step is now X plus 20. So what is the computer going to do? It's going to ask, what is X? It doesn't know X, right?
No, so it will go to the variable X,
And
take the 5.
5 and then bring it. Now it has 5 plus 20, and that's.
And then it adds it.
25. So now at this point, it is done. It knows that there is nothing more to do here. This expression is fully evaluated. So now what is it going to do? It says that you are telling me to give this, whatever the result is, I should put it in this place.
Yeah.
So it is going to put it in there. So right now here, you are not telling it to declare it. So it's going to check. This means that you already have it declared somewhere. So it will go to result and put your 25 in it comfortably.
So that would be like compile?
No, it's not compiling. It's still instruction. This is still instruction. These are the directions that you are giving to the computer. It doesn't need to compile this at all. So the compilation will happen. So you are right. See, we are writing the code this way, right? When the compilation happens, the computer will add all these details in between that we don't, when you see it, you won't even understand. But the computer will add extra lines in between in a way that it can understand it. It's not a computer that will do it, the compiler will do it. You see, I said that between the code that we understand and the code that the computer understands, there is something in the middle called compiler, right? That will convert our code into the form that the computer understands. So yeah, I don't know exactly what it does in there, but this is exactly what the computer will do. And if you put a breakpoint in your code, you're gonna see that it will pass here, go to this, and then from here, it might come back here and read this value and come back. So that's the way the computer will process this, okay? So now it will put your 25 here comfortably. If you don't do anything with the 25, that's up to you. If you don't do anything with the 25, nothing happens. But normally you want to do something with it, right? Normally you want to do something, and whatever you want to do, you do it. Or you can even save this result. This result, you can save it back into the database somewhere. But for us, we just want to print it. So we just want to show this in the console. So now we are saying this. So Afi, could you explain what is happening here? So just skip this one. This is how we print something. So now what will happen to the result? If you tell computer to execute this, you're telling it, go to the variable result, pick whatever that is in there and print it for me. Is that clear?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. That's perfect. And again, you can see this expression, how many little expressions were in there. That's why I was telling you, this is one expression, and the whole of this is another one. X itself is another expression. So that's computer it's like a series of expressions, right? Little expressions that you are evaluating to get what you want. Any confusion? Okay, so Ibrahim, please, could you try this one? And then Christina will try this, and then we can move on. Ibrahim, are you there? Okay, so I don't know. I guess you are muted. We can hear you. Justina, are you there? Can you hear
I'm
me?
sorry. I'm here.
I'm here.
Okay.
Okay.
Ibrahim, you can try the second one, and then Justina will finish this up, and then.
Oh, okay. We have x1. We declare x1 as 5.
We declare x1. We declare variable and call it x1.
X1.
And then we are storing the value.
We're storing the value for 5 to be 5.
It's not
sorry.
5.
You say it's not 5?
I don't think it's 5. I wouldn't call this 5. I would say you can call it string, a character.
Okay.
Character 5.
Character 5. Okay.
If you say 5, then it's a number 5.
Okay.
But we are putting a string 5 in there. I like it right that way. But because it's only this string is made up of one character, so let's not call it a string. You can call it a character, but
character.
In C#, this is a character, but in JavaScript, there is no character there. It's all of them are still strings.
Okay.
So I guess we can stick to the string.
Okay. So, in 18 line, we declare variable y1 and have we store character 10
in there.
Into
character
in there.
10,
10, sorry, 10, not 10.
Yeah.
So we have we declare z1 and store empty string.
Yeah, empty string, yeah, of just one tag,
Empty string.
one space in there, like this.
So, like me, I always say that is operation. No, it's
Mhm.
not operation here, which is line 20.
Uh-huh.
And it's called I think it's called a concatenation.
Yeah, the concatenation
Which
operation. Yeah.
addition means joining, not adding the value.
Perfect.
So if you have 5,
Mhm.
concatenating 10, that will give us 510.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. So if you say console.log result 1, what will the computer do here?
So it's because we have the result. We've stored our answer in results. So if you call it out in console, if we put the results here, it's going to bring us the calculation that it did here. That is, which is 5 times.
Exactly. In other words, the value that we saved in results.
In the result, yeah.
In result variable. It will bring it. Very confusing terminologies. Yeah, thank you. I think that's good. Justina?
So the computer will declare x11 as a variable, and we'll store in that variable Justina, the string.
Yeah.
And then
the value of Justina.
a value of Justina.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it's a value string value of Justina, something like that. But
String
just know that
value.
that's a value. I just want to be sure that we have that. Or data also. It's also data.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then in line 25, the computer will declare the variable y11, and then we will store in that y11 the string value of tech.
Perfect.
And then in 26, the computer will declare z11, and we will store in z11 the space value.
Yeah, you can even say the space character. It's also fine.
Space character.
Yeah, that's the perfect name.
Yeah, space character. And then
add another one. Now we have 2 space characters in there. 3, 4. Okay. Continue, please.
And then in line 27, we declare that other variable results 11, which concatenizes the full name, which would be string value Justina plus x plus what do you call it? Excellent.
Yeah, I think you missed that. Can you start that part again, please? From this side, we concatenate the full name. You said that the full name is Justina. Okay, with, good job, with the X11. Whatever is in X11, right?
Yes.
Okay, so
I think it's double. Because X11 would be the variable, I mean the character Justina plus the space, which was Z11, and then plus the Y11, which is tech.
Yes. Yes.
And
so
that will result.
And that will be put in result. Do you see do you see Z11 here?
Z11? Yes, it's the one in the middle.
This one?
The space.
Are you sure?
Is that a dot in between?
No, it's a space, but it's my computer that I guess.
Oh, okay. So is a space. Yes, that's Z11.
So one question to the whole house. What is the difference between this space character here and Z11? What's the difference?
There's no variable in Z11.
Yes. So
They're the same.
It's tricky.
You didn't put Z11, you put rather the answer to, I mean, what Z11 is, the value of Z11.
Yes, I didn't put Z11, I put the value empty, we put a space character. The strength, the space character there. We just put the space character here. So we put the value itself. We didn't put any variable. So this could have been 2. I could have just put the number 2 here. Right? So this, even though this could be equal to 2, they are not the same. When the computer, if I had put Z11 here, you are telling the computer, go to the location Z11, whatever that is there, get it, right? Can you see that there's a lot of work there? Because the computer has to now go and find out what is stored over here. But if you just put the value like this, you are saving the computer that it doesn't have to, he's thinking of this as a value, not a variable. So there is no relationship between this and this. Even though they store the same value, you're doing something different. Because what if you if you change Z11 to something else? If you change it to, say, this, are you still gonna say this and Z11 are the same? They are not the same anymore. For variables, they change, they keep changing. As the code is going on, variables are changing all the time. Okay? Depending on the logic of the code. I think we understand this, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Justina. That's it, right? So whatever when you concatenate full name, this is another data. This is a whole data on its own. It's a string full name. We concatenate this with whatever that is in the location Z11, which is Justina, plus we didn't want to just add the Y11 right away. We wanted to put a space there. So we just put a space. There are different ways to kill a card. Then now we just print it. So yeah, that's what's happening. Thank you so much, guys. If you understand this like this, I don't think that you will be scared of code. Like for me, I didn't even understand these things. The way you guys are saying it, I didn't understand it. And even when I started the computer science, I would be working on something like this and somebody would tell me, oh, print the value and see what it is. Because sometimes you want to print the value and see what it is. And then if you don't like it, then you can change something up here and stuff like that. But I'll teach you guys debugging, right? And you haven't really seen how to apply code yet. So that's probably why that these little things can do magic, okay? So the string concatenation. So let's say first name is John, last name is Doe. We can say first name plus empty string and then or space character. So then when you print your full name, you are getting John Doe. We just did that. Comparison and logical expressions. So there are different types of expressions. That's all that we are saying here. There is a type of expression where you are just combining two strings. You are joining them. It's a type of expression, right? And so there's another type of expression where you are checking if something is true or false. That's the logical expression. We're going to talk about this later on. And if you want to function call, you can call a function in an expression also. So here, define an area. This area is equal to pi. We know what pi is, but here, this is how you mark.pi. If you want to know the value of pi, this is how you do it. But I will explain it more later on why it is like this. So math.pi will bring you pi, which is 3.14 something. But then math.power, if you want to say 2 raised to the power 2, radius raised to the power 2, this is the way you do it. Power, whatever, say x raised to the power 2, you're going to put x here and then 2. X raised to the power 3, So here you say radius is 5. So here you're going to have 5 raised to the power 2, which is 25. times pi, and you get that back. So all that they are saying is that they are calling a function here. This is a function. But we're going to understand it more later on, but they are all types of expressions. Yeah. And think about it this way. Code is made up of many statements, and then a statement is made up of different little expressions in it. And that's all there is. Can you see how you have simplified code? You know? Okay, so now that's good. Let's move to the next item here. Today we're just gonna finish this very fast because we already know some of them. So program execution and interpretation. This is where the compiler, the interpreter comes in. We already talked about it, so I don't need to repeat it. You know, and again, we are just repeating ourselves here. You are manipulating data. Everything in code is about data of some kind. You're just manipulating it to get what you want. That's all. Okay. And a typical example, if I give you somebody's first name and last name and I tell you, give me the full name, you have to do string concatenation and join the first and the last name and print it to me. That's all I want. And if I give you two people, the ages, and then I ask you, give me the what is the total age of these students? Then you have to add the ages together and give it to me. I can give you, say, the amount of money that I make per day. Then I say, give me the amount of money I make per month. If I work 20 days, it's math. You just do the math and give it to me. That's all. That's all coding is about. Okay. So now we move to the next. I don't know why I talked about program outputs before I talked about program inputs. But normally input is the first thing. So these are inputs. So, you know, you have a program. Sometimes you have to give the program something, and then it will also give you something out based on what you gave it. So when it's giving you something out, that is the output. So you can see here, we just wrote code here, and it's giving us output in the browser. The output is a number here and a string and all that, right? By the way, if you want to know the type of data this is, you can just say type of. I know we're gonna get to it. If you print, if this is a number, it will tell you that it's a number. If it is a string, it's gonna tell you that it's a string and stuff like that. Let me just, you can see, I told you that this one, if you add the two, it's gonna give you a string, right? The 510, it looks like a number, but it's not, it's a string. But this is a number and stuff like that. No, little things you learn, you know, they are not. So let's go back, just deviating. So input, giving something to the code and then getting something out. So if you look at this code again, we are giving this 5 and the 10. These are inputs that we are giving to the code, and then it's doing something with it and giving us something out, giving us a text. So the output can be a lot of things. A whole software is an output of a code. If you execute the code, it gives you a whole software, right? So this is just a concept, right? That I wanted us to just kind of wrap our mind around it, that the code can give us something out. So here is going to give you graphical output. Graphical output means that something with a view like this, right? HTML, you can see an interface that you can click on. And then it can give you a whole file, a document. It can give you a message. Some error messages can come out of the code. If you do calculation, it can give you the results of it, data manipulation. A code can give you an audio, like the singers, musicians, when they create music, you have the audio music, and then anybody who has the audio can play it on their phone. That is an output from a computer code. Look at videos on Netflix, we watch them. It is an output of a code. So code can give you different types of output. So I have this example here. I think we can look at it. The easiest way to get something from the computer, as we just did, you can just say console.log in JavaScript, right? Every language is different. So for JavaScript, you can just say hello world. because we are talking about output, let me also mention alert. This alert, you're going to understand it very easily later on. The reason why you can just do alert and then it will just alert something for you. So I'll just save this and bring the browser, just refresh this. You can see this code here says alert, hello world. You can see hello world up here. So it's giving you something out. And then print hello world in the console. It's also printing it here. So if you use the alert, it blocks the code. It stops everything that is happening. But if you use the console.log, it will print into the console and everything else can continue. Let me prove that. You can, so alert is something that you normally don't want to use unless you want to debug something, or, you know, if they make a big mistake, then you can, hey, you've made a big mistake, change it, something like that. So let me just refresh this. I moved the alert up one line. Now you can see something. Can you see that this line of code didn't execute? See, because the alert is here, it's as soon as the alert code was fired, everything underneath is not working anymore. That's why many people don't like to use the alert unless you, like I said, sometimes you want to use it, but you have to use it with care. But if I had done the console.log, like if I put the alert at the top here, then it's not gonna do any of the calculations we have there. No. If I put it up here, it will execute this code and everything else will not execute. And so none of this will print. That's the point I'm trying to. So you have to click out of it. I mean, as soon as you click out of it, the hello world executed though. But right now, you see, it is hijacking the whole application. So you say, okay, but it's a way of getting an output and then the rest of the code will execute. It's just an information, you know, you can play with these things. You know, so this code here, you can also, JavaScript is very, very powerful. You can just say document.write. Let me remove the alert. If I just do document.write like this. 1 second. Put some spaces here. Document.write. Why is okay? So because this is on multiple lines, I think I need to use backticks. What is the symbol for backticks? How to find it? So on my keyboard, I don't know how to get a backtick, so I'll stop it. We can just do this. Let me put this on one line for now. Okay, so I guess so document.write. If I do this code, you know what it's going to do? It's going to create a paragraph on the page for me. So the whole interface over here in JavaScript, you reference it by using the word document. And if I say write, it's going to create a paragraph and put this text on it. Like the things you can do using JavaScript, it will blow your mind when we start doing it. You see, this line of code has written this JavaScript for us on the page itself, and this HTML, sorry. So I have all those examples you can just try, but at the end of the day, it's a way of getting an output, right? There are many different ways. If we had enough time, I could play with this, but I don't know. Like I said, we may be going ahead of ourselves at the beginning. So some of this could be repetition. Please forgive me if it is. Let's just put this here and play with it. You can do the same also. You can go to the site and just play with this thing. What code is this? So constant, I'm saying constant data. If you declare a variable and you say it's constant, it means it's not going to change later on. So later on, if you try to change data, you're going to get an error. But if the data will change, you have to say let. But it's JavaScript, so we'll learn it later on. So just that, and if this is not a number, console that, it's just a bunch of stuff, error message. Yeah, you can also throw some error using this. So this is another variable to just store the number 15 here, the expression of that, and result that. So different outputs, right? It's just, you know, debugging, results. The prompt is also nice. If you want to take something from the user, you have to use the prompt, and then they enter their name. You can store the name here and print it in the console. Let's see what this does. You can play with this, change it, and so what is happening is code always begins from the first line. It will execute the things one by one. So data, we didn't really do nothing with the data, but look at this code. If we have to look at if statement. So this is a function. It checks whatever you put in here. If it is a number, if whatever you put here is not a number, then this condition will hold. So if this is true, then this will print. If this is not true, this will not print. So it's NaN means it's not a number. So you put not, this thing is a string, right? This value, is it not a string? So that's not a number. So if you pass a string into this function, it's going to give you not a number. So it's true. And therefore, he's printing the error message. But you can alert it too. It's an error number, but it's just different printing stuff. Result is 15. We are printing 15. We already know what that is doing. And another example, there are different examples, unrelated, right? But what is important to me is this one. So we are on this line of code. You can see the prompt. If you call this prompt, the prompt means that take an input from the user. So whatever you put here, what is your name? It will come up here. So if I just enter Evans, and I say, okay, what am I doing? I'm taking, so can we guys try to understand this code one bit? It's very easy. Later on, we're going to understand the prompt, but you don't make the prompt yourself. It's a function that is given to you. You call it, and then all it does is it gives the window like that, and then it's asking the user to give something. So whatever the user is giving, remember this is an expression, whatever the user is giving is the result. So you want to store that in your variable called name. So if I give it Evans, Evans is going to be stored in the name. So now what am I doing here? I'm printing concatenation of hello and whatever name they entered, because I'll go to the variable and pick it. And then that. You can design this whichever way you want, but that is how you make software. You want to greet somebody, this is the best way one of the ways you would do it. So I just enter tech mastery, whatever. And if I do okay, this code will now print, and then hello, whatever, right? That's how you greet somebody. So, you can put some condition here. If they enter something that is not a name, you can tell them, no, that is not a name. So try again. But all of that, is something that we do later on. So when you write code, you are just asking for name, but somebody can just put a number. How do you know that this is a number and not a name? So you have to check it. Right now, we are not checking anything. So whatever they entered, we are printing it. So hello, see, this doesn't make sense in code. So now the best way to do this code is to now check here. There are so many ways of checking, but you can even use this function. There's just so many different ways. You can just say, so this one, not a number. So this is going to return true if what is entered is not a number. We don't want a number. So I'm just going to put the name here. That's your data. Put the name here. So you are checking if name is not a number. So if it is a number, then you want to say it's true. So I want to say, so this is how you say not in code. This thing here, not. So this will confuse you guys, but so it's not a number. I can put it in there. That's fine. So this function will check whatever you put here is going to check if it is a number. If it is not a number, sorry. So here you are checking a name, whatever they give you, you pass it there. So it's gonna check if this is not a number. So if they enter Evans, that's not a number, so this will be true. And you don't want to throw an error because you don't want to enter a number. So you only want to throw this error if this is not true. In other words, if they enter a number. So the way you do it, you just put not here. Don't worry, these nots, they are very difficult to conceptualize, but it's a simple principle. So right now, if I enter, say, Evans, you can see there is no error because Evans is not a number. Everything is perfect. But let me enter a number and see if it will print an error. But you know, there's some, you call this validation, right? If I'm doing validation, I'm gonna do a lot more than this. You see, I'm now printing this. There's a number there, invalid number. But first we have to change this. Here now, this is we can say invalid input. See, that's how you create code, invalid input. And you can say, please enter a string. You know, and then down here, we don't need to print this if this is false. So we can say else, put some else here, if else. Don't print this if they enter the wrong input. And if you want them to enter the right thing, you know, maybe if statement is not the best way to do this, you can use some while loop or stuff like that, you know. We can just use while loop. I'm just gonna try something while true. It may not work, but I just want to try something. But we're going to learn all these things, you know, how to manipulate code and get what you want. Now I'll be asking questions and then you guys will come up with answers, you know, but that's the coding process, right? Just changing little things and getting what you want. So I just want to save this and see what happens. So it's asking for my name. If I enter number, it will print invalid input. Please enter a string. But the good thing is that it's still asking me for a name. So now let me print Evans. And that worked. So now it's printing my name here. But once we come here, we can just say return, exit. There is a way to leave this place. Is it with the exit or something? Let me see. Sorry. So here, the best way you can do this is you set a very, so you guys, maybe you don't get it, but we'll get there, okay? Say counter equals false. I want to just counter equals false. Sorry. At the beginning, I can say counter equals true. So this true is a type of value, right? So that's a Boolean. We call it Boolean. I'm just creating a variable called counter. I could give it any name. Maybe counter is the wrong name, but it doesn't matter. I just want to show you something so that I'm using a loop here. While counter is true, just keep doing this. Then as soon as we come here, set counter to false. So counter equals false. And because do you guys want me to explain this code? We may not finish the introduction if I do that. So, okay, let me refresh that. So I have an infinite loop. That's what's happening. So just enter number. That's wrong. Enter a good name, Evans, and then now the loop is stopped. See, I just created a beautiful software right there, just with this line of code. Okay. Do you want me to explain this or you got it, or maybe we can get to it when we get to it? Cool. We're gonna get to this. So this one contains conditionals, and it also contains a loop. So it's pretty complex. Okay, let's go back. I think I'm going to speed up here. We need to finish this introduction so that tomorrow we'll just go straight into the JavaScript itself. Okay, so as far as input is concerned, there are many inputs that you can put in a code, you know, like entering your name, as I was just showing you guys. You know, what is your favorite color? Yeah, you know, play with these things, right? Just play with the examples, that's all. You know, you want to take some input from the user, you always do, you know, use that. And if you ask for a name, they're gonna give it as a string, you can pass it as an int, blah, 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 you know. So again, I talked about jumping ahead. This was a perfect example that we could have played with, but I'm counting on you guys to play with this at home, okay? And let's operators. Do you guys understand operators? Especially Justina.
Isn't it plus and minus and multiplication?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, pluses and minuses, multiplications. If you want to add numbers in code, you know. But mostly what is important is these keywords: arithmetic operators, assignment operator. What is an assignment operator? What is a comparison operator? This is very, very important. What is logical operators? Then unary. Unary, maybe I don't need to really, bitwise and unary, you don't need to really care about it much. But that what is important is that, okay? So arithmetic is used to perform mathematical operations, right? Like you want to add a number, subtract, multiply, division, exponentiation. This is exponent. What is exponent? Who can give me an example of exponent? Exponentiation.
something to the power of something. 2 to the power of X.
Perfect, perfect. Something to the power of something. Like 2 squared is 2 power 2. This is how you write it. If you want to say 2 to the power 3, this is how you write it in code. If you want to say 10 divided by 2 in your program, this is how you do it. And like I said, coding is all about the data, right? These are the data. And these little manipulations is what helps you get what you want most of the time. So they are very high level things. But what about modulo? Do you guys know modulo? Have you heard about modulo before? Like modulo operator.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to encourage you to read about it, right? This is very, very powerful. And in programming, the senior developers, they are very good at how to use this. If you don't know how to use this one, you have to learn it. So in math, there is a whole topic called modulo arithmetic. Modulo arithmetic. Do you guys remember that? Modulo arithmetic in math, like where you are looking at reminders of things. But it's not an easy math to learn, but it's very, very important in programming. I mean, that is the most complicated math you would do. One of the most complicated math you do in programming, like the modulo arithmetic. It gives you the reminders of things. So that is the summary, the way you summarize it. So modulo gives you the reminder. If
Okay. I know what you're talking about now.
Yes, yes. So 10 mod 3 is going to give you 1. If you're saying that when 3 goes into 10, 3 times, remember 1. You just want a reminder. And it's so powerful and so useful, and it's just so good, this modulo. So if you want to do modulo in your code, you just use this. And you can use it to do so many complicated things. I will try to give an example in the future where we would need this modulo to be able to solve it. And without the modulo operator, we can't solve it. I'm going to give an industry example, real world example. So that's the modular. So as far as mathematical operations are concerned, these are all the operators, right? You can always think within this. And then assignment. What is assignment operators? Assignment. What does it even mean if I say assignment operator? Assignment operator. So in our code that we wrote before, I deleted it, but this is also the same. You see this equal sign. This is an assignment operator because you are assigning this value or this data to the variable. You see, this is an assignment operator. So you are assigning whatever was on the right-hand side to the left-hand side. So what is this? What operator is this? Arithmetic. You're just doing mathematics here, right? Okay, so assignment operators, these are all the assignment operators we have. Do you guys know what this is? Plus equal. What plus equal mean? Let's say, I can say let x, or let my variable, use the proper name, variable equals 0. And then if I say, for the first thing I can say my variable equals the number 2. So I'm assigning the number 2 to this, right? Another thing I can do is my variable equals my variable plus 2. What I'm doing is that whatever value I have here, add 2 to it, right? So the shortcut, anytime you want to have something like this, you are taking whatever value is over there and then you are adding something to it. The shortcut is this, my value plus equal 2. So plus equal 2 means that you are saying that my variable equals my variable plus 2. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So this is something that you just have to know. It doesn't even have to make sense. Just know and then you can use it. So like if you see anybody write code and they have something like this, plus equals 2, you should know that what they are trying to do is this. But you see, this is too long because you're repeating yourself here. But here is very short. So coding, there is something called dry principle. The dry principle means that you want to keep the code very, very dry. You don't want to repeat yourself. So this is one of the operators that allows you to do that. So if I do, now I have a question. If I do this, there's another operator here saying minus. What do you think this will mean? It means what? My variable equals my variable minus 2. That's what it means. Is it clear? And then if I have multiplication, this is the same thing. It's gonna take whatever value that is there and multiply by 2. So division also works the same way. You can have, so this operator, this whole thing is an operator, and all this, it means this. It's just a shortcut, so to speak, okay? And then the modulo is right there. Now, what is this one? Who can explain this one? We know that this double sign is exponentiation. What do you think this would mean? The same way. You take whatever that's there, raised to the power 2, right? This number could be anything. Don't forget, it could be 5, it could be 10, it could be 20. Depending on what you're doing, you'll be changing this things to get your way. So operators is important. It's like the gas, okay? Like expressions operators, they are the gas for the coding. Code is a bunch of little expressions, right, that are doing magical things. Now, comparison operators. I mean, we're gonna end the class very soon, guys. Don't worry. I think we're gonna be here for 2 hours pretty soon. So I'm trying to end it right around that point, say 2 hours and 15 minutes or something like that. So comparison operators, comparison. See, I need you guys to go to this page and just close your eyes and think a little bit. What is arithmetic operation? Now you guys understand what an expression is. It's combination of variables and numbers or data. Data is not just numbers. It could be string, it could be, there are different types of data that we're going to look at. But just combine them. And I'm saying that we have the arithmetic operators. You only use them with numbers. And then you have assignment. If you want to assign value to a variable, these are the different ways you can do it. And then comparison, that's when we use a double equal. What is comparison operators? Can somebody try to explain this to me? This concept is true for all programming languages, okay? Some languages may use a different syntax, but for the most part, it's the same. The concept is the same. You're going to have to compare two things and make a decision based on that. So sometimes you can say, let's say I can ask for somebody's name. We know how to do it. The code is here. You can ask for somebody's name here. If they enter, you can say, if you want, this is the comparison, if. But we're going to learn the if statements also. If name equals alpha nowhere. So you want to do some if statements. So this statement is wrong, guys, but I want you to tell me. You can say, you can console.log proficient in JavaScript. JS is the shortcut for JavaScript. So you just enter some, give me your name. If they give the name, now you want to check if the name belongs to alpha, the name is the same as alpha. So you are saying if this is equal to that. So you cannot use a single equal sign here. For this single equal sign, what is it used for? It's an assignment operator. It's not a comparison operator. So you can't compare this and this using this. You have to say double equal. So now what you are telling us is whatever that is in here, is it the same as this? If this is true, then you print this. But if we haven't learned the if statements, so if it's not true, you can say, you can print something else, right? Whatever that makes sense. So this is, it gives you the power to make decision in your code, right? Anytime you need to make decisions, sometimes you are comparing something. Like even here, I created the counter and I set it to true. And I'm saying while true. If the counter is true, then this is almost like if, but it's a different thing because I'm turning that into a loop, right? And then here I'm changing the value of counter to false. So this condition is going to fail. If this condition fails, then it's not going to work, right? Some bunch of if statements. They're also kind of a bad example though, but you get the point, right? Anytime you want to compare two variables or two values. So remember variables, they become values eventually because they store values, right? And so you can compare a value and a variable. So that's how you do it. What does this mean? If I say, instead of double equal, if you say this, not equal, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you are checking if this and this are not equal. So you can see the importance of operators, right? You need them in your code to help you decide on what to do and assign values and all that. But so this one here is only available in JavaScript, this thing here. So I don't know if I'm going to talk about it when we get to JavaScript, this triple equal signs. Okay, so when you use the simple equal sign, you are just checking the value. You are not checking the type of the value. If you use the triple, you are checking the type of the value also. So well, I guess I will just mention it since you watch the video. So for instance, you can say if 5 equals, so 5 equal double equal, and if you put a string of 5 here. Is this thing going, this one is going to become true. It's going to become true because the value 5 and 5 are the same, but the type is not the same. This is a string, and then this is a number. So if you want to make sure that the value itself and then the type of the value is the same, you have to use the triple equal. So in JavaScript code, a lot of the time they will be using this, because if you are just using this 2 equal sign, you are likely to make mistakes in your code. Because if you see a number 5 and the string 5, it's going to say they are the same. But we all can tell that sometimes 5 and a string of 5 is not the same. Sometimes. Because it depends on what this 5 is. It depends on what they mean. Right? So this is how you can make sure that both the type and the value are the same. Is that okay?
Yeah.
And then the not equal, thank you, Afi. The not equal is the same, the opposite. You are checking if this and this are not equal. So even if the values are the same and the type are not the same, then they are not equal. So this is the straight comparison. You're doing a very deep comparison here. Okay, but if you just do this, you're doing a loose comparison. It's this one is the power of JavaScript, actually, to give you the ability to do this. Of course, greater than, less than, yeah, easy. You are checking if, say, is 5 greater than 7. Is this going to be true or false? False, right? 5 is not greater than 7. So now this is the less than. If you want to check if something is less than, you use the less than. And then you can see greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. These are things we know, right? But that's how you do it in code. But sometimes you need that. Otherwise, you will not be able to code what you want to code. You need these specific operators. Then logical, we're almost done pretty much. So logical, you're saying and, or, and then not. I think we've already seen this. This is not. Like if this is equal, if you put this sign there, then it's not equal. You know, but here we kind of use it in a slightly different way. So you can say A and B. A and B means that if A is true and B is false, is A and B gonna be true? See, if A is true, but B is false, and you say A and B, is it gonna be true? No.
No.
If you say and, you want both to be true. So and means that A has to be true, B has to be true. But if you say A or B, this is an or. So in that case, if A is true and B is false, the whole thing will still be true. So the or sign, just the pipe symbol, like this. But you know, 5 or 6. Actually, there is something called truthy and falsy. 5 is a true value. You know, this is true. But if this is, say, 0, 0 is false. Some numbers are true, some numbers are false. But of course, in this case, you're going to be using a variable. So you check this variable and then say another variable, say, but you have to declare it, right? You can say const, you can say const name2 is equal to false. So you just created your variable and you put a Boolean value in it, true or false. And then name we can also put true here. So now here, if you say if name or name2, because you are using or, only one of them has to be true for the whole thing to be true. If you had said and if you want to say and, you use this ampersand, double ampersand. And then if the whole of this, the whole of this is going to give you a value. It's an expression. And then you can put a not here. I'm just going to put this in a bracket, even though I don't have to. If I put not over here, it means that whatever value you get here, reverse it. if this is true, because of the not, it's going to become false. If this is false, because of the not, it's going to become true. The opposite of. Down here, I was using the same principle. You see, I put the not there. Yes. So these operators, I tell you, the most important ones are all that we've seen: arithmetic, assignment, comparison, logical. Because it's math. Everything is math. So, but it's basic math, as you can see. But it does magic, right? If you understand these things. So the unary operators, it's just. I think this is what probably becomes the concatenations and so this, you can negate a sign. Just read through this. Yeah. So these are operators that don't work on two values. You can see all the operators we have, they take two values, say A and B, and you're comparing them, you're adding them, you're assigning them. But there are operators that only work on one variable. Like, you see, you can say plus A. So plus A, if A is positive, it's going to stay positive. So plus A really doesn't change anything. But negative A, if A is a negative number and you negate it, negative becomes positive, right? So that's what you're doing here. And then A++. This is another very useful operator. A++. You see it in code a lot. A++ means A equals A plus 1. If you want to write code like this, A equals A plus 1, just say A++. So this one, we call it increment sign, increment. Yeah, it's here, increment. You want to increase the value of A by 1. Of course, A is a variable, it stores a number. Whatever it stores a value, whatever value that is there, you increase it by 1. Of course, if the value is a string, you cannot increase it by 1. So before you do this, you want to make sure the value is a number, the value that it stores. And then decrement, right? So decrement, this one is actually double minuses. It's not just one minus. So decrement is this. So that is whatever value of A is, reduce it by 1. And then, we know what this is, not A. So not A, logical. If A is true, not true is false, right? If A is false, not false is what? True. If it's not false, then it's true. So that's what the not operator is. And then the tilde is bit. This one is too advanced. We can ignore this one. You probably will never use this in your code. I've really never used this too. For type of, we looked at type of. So type of allows you to know what type of data it stores. If you say type of, say name, it's gonna print what type of data is stored in name, right? So we're gonna look at that later on. So the bitwise operators, I would tell you guys to skip it for now, but this is bits. It's a very deep and complicated set of operators that in a normal software development, you may never use this ever. But we studied it in other contexts in school and all, so I will not explain it. So that is the truth table, something called the truth table. In school, some of us will do it, but ignore it, it's not useful. So these are all the operators, guys. Make sure you learn them. This one, you have to just look at them and practice. And I've given you a lot of examples here that you can practice, right? Now that you know how to write JavaScript code, you all have Visual Studio installed. Practice, go to ChatGPT, get more examples, and just practice. Okay, can you guys do that?
Yes.
And thank you. Now that you are spending time to do this, make sure you get it. Like I said, especially this universal principles operator. If you get it, it's the same for all languages. Even this in C++, C#, they use the same operators here. So if you know these operators in JavaScript, the same operators over there, the same concepts. So please, I'll just go to the next one. I know we're almost near time, but The rest of them, I won't talk. I'll just show you the code at the bottom so you guys can try them in your free time. So this is with just the operators. I'm waiting for this to open. Values and types. This with something we've talked about extensively. So I'm just going to show the code. So we know what the value, number and all that. Integer, float. So because this is the universal introduction, I'm showing integers, float, decimals, and all that. But in JavaScript, it's just a number. What we have is just a number. So the value, data type of the data, right? So just read this to understand the data types. Like I said, you can use the type of to know what type of data it is. What is Boolean? Do you guys know what a Boolean is? A Boolean data type. It's just one. Sorry?
The truth and false, right?
Truth and false, yes.
Or true. Oh.
True or false, yes. So any question I ask you there, you have to respond and say yes, no. In computer, you have to, we call it Boolean. Like, are you hungry? You answer can either be yes or no. But it could be, I don't know. So I don't know, it's not true, Boolean. So true or false, anything that's, true or false, we store that as a Boolean. Very powerful data type. And we know what a number is. We know what a string is. The rest of them are objects. We're going to look at them later on in JavaScript. JavaScript doesn't have a lot of data types, so that's good. You don't need to worry. But just read about the concept here. Now, code comment is opening. We all know what a variable is. So now, code comment. What is a comment in code? We've mentioned this many times, but I have given you a nice tutorial here. What is comment in code? Let's just speed through this and get it over with, okay? See, so almost done.
When you make a documentation and you don't want it to show.
No, you don't want it to show?
No, when you write documentations, just for like instructions, but it doesn't affect the code.
Yes, you want the computer to skip it.
Yeah.
So it's a line of something that you don't want the computer to execute, right? So if the computer sees these two lines, it's going to jump this line. It won't check what it is. That's a comment. So the comment is there for you to explain the code, as Afi is saying. Here you are just explaining what you're doing. You can see initialize count. So the n is 1, initialize count. That's what I'm doing. So that tomorrow when I come back, I can know exactly what I was doing. So what is multi-line comment? Do you guys know what multi-line is? See, this is a single comment, right? So you can just use double slash. If you want to write on multiple lines, you can do this one. / and then this, and then you end it with this. See? But you can also keep putting the double slash in front of them, but it's just too much work. So this is multi-line comment, okay? And you put it on top of something to describe what the code is doing so that it will be easy for you to maintain it. So documentation of comments, sometimes we do this. They want to really document. This is a high level way of commenting code. If you comment the code this way and somebody hovers on the A, it's gonna add more information, right? If you hover on it, to give you some information. You guys should just read through it and you can just copy this whole code and execute and see what it does, okay? So we're commenting for clarity. These are some of the reasons why people would comment code, right? So just read this, very easy to read. And I wrote this myself and a lot of exercise, and so it will help. So that's that for comment. I think variable has opened here. So before I go there, let me also open the block. Just the idea of block. Just tomorrow we will meet and then we just begin with JavaScript. So we just learn the JavaScript tomorrow. Remember, we are learning introduction to programming using JavaScript. So variables, we declare variables. is something that we know. You can say var age, let age, const age, different ways of doing it. Initialize, we all know that. See here, I didn't say let because we had already declared it up there. I wouldn't say var because we already declared it, just assign. Data types, we've been talking about data types, right? If you read this, you understand it very well. Updating the value, +1. Usage, data manipulation, right? Total score, bonus points, final score. Give you nice examples, okay? So the scope is something we're gonna learn later on. So don't worry about scope right now. And yeah, so this is variables. Very nice topic. Block is opening. Let me open conditional here. So a block of code, block. See, if you see this curly brackets, some people call it parentheses. Open parentheses, close parentheses. This is a block of code. You can put multiple lines of code in here. So that's what we call block, code blocks. And of course, you know, this is an if statement, even though we don't know what that is yet. Conditionals, right? We'll see it very soon. That's the next thing. It's opened over there, conditional. So this is a block of code. And then a scope. So like this block of code, any variable that you declare in the block is available in the block only. If you come outside the block, you cannot use the variables in here. So that's a very powerful principle that we have to know. But we'll talk about it when we study the scope in details. So here, this is a function. We declare this variable inside the block. Over here, if you do console.log, you see it will work to print the value. But if you do console.log, the same variable, see local variable, it's not going to work because you're doing it outside the block, the scope of the block. So here I'm doing the control statements. These are control statements, which we're gonna do in the next year, right here, conditionals. Control statement, what is control statement? We talked about it, guys, we almost ended, you can see. Control statement, if you want to make a decision, right? You want to make a decision as to what to do. Should I go left or right? That is control statement. So if statement, while, this is a loop though. So they all have blocks. This is a block. I just want to introduce the block, right? It's just a block, concept of a block. And you can have different blocks within blocks and stuff like that. We're gonna explore them later on when we are doing the JavaScript. So I'll open the loops. What is conditionals? Yeah, conditions is what I just said. So what we did, we are just focusing on a block of code. So condition is if a certain condition is true, only then you execute all the code in the block. So making decisions in your code, yes or no, true or false, blah, blah, blah. You need conditionals to do that. That's the whole principle. So the first, usually conditionals is just if statements. So in every programming language, there is something called if statement, right? So if the condition is true, then you do this. Else statement. So that means this is the way the else statement look like. If this is true, you do this. Else, you do this. So if the condition is false, you do this side. And sometimes you can have several if statements. So we call it else if statement. So if this condition is true, do the first part. Else, if another condition is true, then you do this. Else, so this one is if none of the two conditions above is true, then you do this. So I think Justina, you're the one that would probably have issues here because Ibrahim and Afi, they did this in Java, in C#. So Justina, does this make sense? These things?
Yeah, everything.
Do you think that if you read this, you're gonna understand it?
Yeah. It's like you definitely have to look over it again.
Yes, just do that. And if I have questions at the bottom here, just practice them. Here, I'm giving you really code. You can copy it like this and try it, right? Yeah, so, and then instead of the if statement, we have another one called switch. The switch is very powerful. Either you use the if or the switch. If you're looking at production code, you see a lot of if statements in there, and you're going to see a lot of switch statements also, because we are always making decisions in code. So like Justina, look at the little, you see what we spent a lot of time doing, declare variable, blah, blah, blah. When you put it in a framework like this, then you have a very complicated code. You wrap it around if statements and you are checking conditions and stuff like that. So the switch, there is a variable. You are saying that if the value in the variable is this, then do this. And then leave the break. Break means that don't continue. And then if the value here is this, then do this. If the value here, so this is another type of if statement. But for me, I think that this switch, it's easy to read the switch statements than the if statements. That's what I think. So I like the switch better. So this one is very important, ternary operator. You can have a whole if statement in one line. As we go on, I'm going to give you guys a lot of examples that I'll be using this. So you just put a condition first, and then you put this question mark. And then if this condition is true, you do this. Then you put this semicolon, and then you do this. So there is something called syntax, right? This is the way you do it. It's just a syntax. They are saying that, let's see the examples. See, these are examples. You just declare a variable called age, and you are giving it 20. You are assigning a value of 20. So now you have your if statement. If age is greater than or equal to 18, then you print. What does it mean? If somebody is older than 18, if somebody is 18 or older, what does it mean? They are an adult, right? So that's what this code is doing. You enter the age, and then you check the condition. If the age is greater than 18, then you are an adult. So instead of entering this age, is there a way we could have asked them to enter the age themselves? Guys, have you lost energy? Can you guys wait for only 9 more minutes or no? So that this will be 2.5 hours. It's an intensive class, yes. But we don't meet all the time. Can we wait for 9 more minutes or no? I can stop here.
Yeah.
Ibrahim, Justina?
Can we add it to tomorrow?
Yeah, that's good. So in that case, we'll stop here. Tomorrow, we'll start with the conditionals and the loop, function scopes. Yeah, these are powerful points. It's good to really spend time on them anyways. So what time tomorrow should we meet? 10:30 is good?
10:30 is fine with me.
Justina, Ibrahim?
It's good. It's fine. It's okay. It's just that cause what time would we end?
I mean 2 hours at my minimum, but around 2 hours we can end. Yeah.
Okay. 10:30 is fine.
10:30 is fine. Okay. Okay. Ibrahim, are you there? Okay, so I suppose we would make it at 10:30 tomorrow, guys. Definitely, it will give me more time to explain this better, so that's good. And then we can move to JavaScript itself. And yeah, so thank you all for coming. I'm gonna share this link in the group. Please try to read these introductions. It will help you a lot. Like I said, I wrote it myself. So every line here is good. Okay.
Okay.
thank you all for coming and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Bye,
Thanks.
guys.
Sure. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.